Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 season. We are going to give the absolute lowest possible floor of their potential records and the absolute maximum ceiling that you can expect this year from your Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we get into that, if you have not already, go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. The first week of the NFL season is right around the corner, and every week we are going to have weekly Steelers prediction videos of all the games that you're not going to want to miss. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring that bell to get notified when those videos come out. Ryan, before we get into the schedule here, let's quickly break down on some of the areas that the Steelers improved on in the 2024 offseason. And the thing to me, I would say, is just two overall: offensive line, and then also I would say in the secondary as well. I think they did bring in some good guys in the secondary to help out, just kind of round out that defense. Because front seven wise, I think they have some of the best, probably one of the better front sevens in the league.
Well, they have TJ Watt. Then everybody else is pretty good.
Everyone else, they have a lot of above average guys. TJ Watt definitely helps them out a lot. But even going to get guys like Patrick Queen, I think is a great addition to that front seven. But rounding out the secondary as well and improving this offensive line, I think is going to be huge. There's obviously a lot of other transitions that happen with like the QBs and everything, and bringing on like new receivers and whatnot. But I think those two areas I think are going to help out the team the most, just with the way that this team likes to play football. What do you think of that? Do you think their improvements in the quarterback room? Well, I guess their improvements in the quarterback room.
Their moves in the quarterback room.
Their moves in the quarterback room.
Yeah.
But what are some areas you think that they improved on the most?
Yeah. Probably that front seven, as you mentioned, TJ Watt coming back healthy. They did go get Patrick Queen. This offensive line also, like just in the trenches, I guess is the main point. Offensive line, getting Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, with really good value there in the late second round. But then also Patrick Queen, Dean Lowry, going in and getting those guys, I think also help as well. Peyton Wilson will probably get some pretty significant playing time for them. So all in all, just in the trenches, I think they did a really good job. They got more bodies like in the secondary. I don't know how much of an improvement it will be. But I mean, hopefully competition breeds success, and they get some guys on the back end of that defense that can really contribute. And we've talked about it a ton on this channel. I would much rather have a good front seven and a so-so secondary than a great secondary and a so-so front seven, because you can only cover guys for so long. And you like go look at what Philadelphia did 2 seasons ago when they had 80 sacks, and that secondary was just okay, but they only had to cover guys for 2.5 seconds because that's like the average time it took for them to get to the quarterback. So all in all, I think this team they did a good job kind of building up the trenches. I'm a little concerned about this wide receiver room. George Pickens and Roman Wilson are, I think, the two leading guys. They got Van Jefferson, but other than that,
I think didn't Roman Wilson get hurt? I remember that happened a little bit ago at training camp. I need to double check and see his.
I haven't heard that, but
so Pittsburgh Steelers get return timeline from him.
Oh well, then that just adds more to my concern.
Okay, well, it looks like it says nothing serious. I remember that was as of I think a couple days ago. We're recording this on the 18th, and I remember seeing that a couple days ago. So it's hard to follow up with everything going on.
Yeah.
But so something to watch though. But to your point though, if he does go down, then just George Pickens is just that depth. So I think the biggest thing kind of going like overall as we start to segue into the schedule is going to be just the overall quarterback play. That's what this team, they were able to make the playoffs last year with minimal quarterback play at all or contribution really. And so that's what I think when you go and get Russell Wilson, you just need to have that baseline. Be like, you just need to at least meet this bar, which is already very low, set by Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And then who's the other quarterback? I'm blanking on the was it Mitch Trubisky? I think it was Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, it was Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure it was him, because I don't think he was because he's with the Bills now, I believe. But anyways, that's just going to be the biggest thing when I look at their schedule, because AFC North is just wild always. They're always competitive, and especially too with Mike Tomlin, never had a losing record. I don't believe they're going to have another losing record now. In my opinion, there's no reason for me to think that wouldn't change, just because they're always able to figure out ways to win, especially later on in the season. But
I have a couple reasons.
Well, and let's dive into that here now with the 2024 schedule. So we're gonna break it up into 3 6-game segments here. Starting off week 1 at Atlanta. Arthur Smith gets a return home, and also seen as well from some of the Steelers fans on Twitter. We try to warn you guys about some of his offensive play calling. So it should be fun to see, especially too on the other side of the mantle there. So week 1 at Atlanta, week 2 at Denver, week 3 hosting the Chargers, week 4 at Indianapolis, week 5 hosting Dallas on Sunday Night Football, and week 6 at the Las Vegas Raiders here. So pretty interesting schedule here. Only really one game I'm confident that they're going to win. I think that would be Denver, just because I think this defense is going to be too much for Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, or Bo Nix. And then definitely a couple of games that are going to be very unique that are going to be ties in, or that's going to be close. But looking at this, I think ceiling wise though, I personally thinking 3-3. Like I think like they beat Denver. And they pull out a win between either the Chargers, Indianapolis, or Las Vegas. They beat Denver, and then they pull out 2 wins potentially against the Chargers, or either Indianapolis or Las Vegas. I think they're probably not favored to win against Atlanta or against Dallas.
Yeah, those are the 2 games I am for sure thinking that they're not going to win. I was going to say 4-2 as the ceiling, but then I was going to say like 2-4 as the floor, because Denver and then maybe the Chargers, and then if like I think they might split against Indiana and Las Vegas. But if we're going like worst case scenario, I think Denver and the Chargers are the only 2 games that I like them in, just because I think they'll beat up on the Chargers in the trenches.
Okay.
With that, but the other like that. A lot of the Steelers are in that, like, you kind of have the Chiefs, the Bills, and maybe you could probably put the Texans in that category now. So you have those 3 teams, and then you have like 10 other teams that are all kind of in the same boat in the AFC, and the Steelers are like, to me, either right in the middle or like towards the back end of that boat. But in that, I think the Chargers are definitely at the back, if not kind of just out of it. You have Indiana and Las Vegas, who are going to be prime playoff teams, also. They're like prime wild card playoff teams.
Yeah.
And I just, to me, I think that's a tough situation to be in when you're the Steelers. So I think 4-2 ceiling, 2-4 floor. Let's move on to the second block of 6 games here. So week 7, hosting the New York Jets on Sunday Night Football. Week 8, hosting the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Week 9, bye. Week 10 at Washington. Week 11, hosting Baltimore. Week 12 at Cleveland on a short week on Thursday Night Football. And honestly, I would say for a ceiling, 3-2 as like an absolute ceiling. And that to me is they would have to beat the Jets, the Giants, and Washington.
You don't think the Jets is there? So I think they can win one of the games against Baltimore, Cleveland.
Yeah, that's really tough. They're going to have 2 really tough division games in 5 days. So we could say 4-1 as a ceiling.
Yeah,
I feel like that might be a little lofty, but realistically, I think
it's possible. It's possible that this Steelers team beat Cleveland last year.
Yeah, I agree. On a short week, it was earlier in the year, but I agree.
Actually, it was a game Nick Chubb got hurt, but
yeah.
I still think they could beat Cleveland, or honestly, I still think they could beat Baltimore. I know they beat Baltimore week 18. I know it was a scrub game for Baltimore.
Yeah,
but still, and actually, I think they beat Baltimore twice last year. If I'm not mistaken, because I think that was one of the crazy.
That was like the crazy comeback game. They had like the 96-yard pick six, and then the George Pickens 50-yard touchdown.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's unrealistic that they can win one of those games. Now, I agree with you. I can probably tell you right now, I'm not going to pick the Steelers to win that game, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So that's that. Now the floor, they lose both those games. They lose to the Jets. Do you think they can lose either the Giants or the Washington game?
So that was going to be my interesting point here. Is I felt like their ceiling was 3-2. I thought 2-3 was their floor. they should beat the Giants and they should beat Washington. I could see how those teams could win those games, but if I'm thinking like on a favorite aspect, like they'll win those games.
No, that's what I was thinking as well, and especially too with how good this defensive line is and the front seven, honestly, just defense as a whole now. I can see there being a struggle for the Giants, and then you have a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. So let's wrap up the final 6-game stretch here. Week 13 at Cincinnati, Week 14 hosting Cleveland, Week 15 at Philly, Week 16 at Baltimore on a Saturday, Week 17 hosting Kansas City on Christmas. And then Week 18 hosting Cincinnati. What a tough stretch here. I'll say it right now. Floor is absolutely 0-6.
Oh yeah, all of those teams will be favored against Pittsburgh. I feel like
floor is absolutely 0-6.
Yeah.
And then ceiling, though, I will say once again too, it's just unique just because with Cincinnati has historically just had a little bit of a weaker offensive line. Pittsburgh has kind of had their number at times, I would say, especially during the Joe Burrow era. They're hosting Cleveland, and that's where I know they beat Cleveland last year. That was a Nick Chubb game. That being said, they should have won that game. Deshaun Watson gave it to them, but I digress. Philly, I think, could be vulnerable as well. Just like who knows what this new offensive line is going to be like. I think it's going to be tough for them to beat Baltimore at Baltimore and then Kansas City on a short week. So I would
say 3-3.
3-3. Okay.
Yeah, is the ceiling.
Okay.
I mean, all 6 of those teams are going to be just loaded.
No, I think that's fair.
And they're catching like Cincinnati, like with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's only lost like 2 games in his career in November and December. And granted, some of that is injury related. Like he hasn't played a lot of games there. But when he has played, that is when Cincinnati gets hot. And when Pittsburgh has beat them in the past, it's been early on in the year. Kansas City in Week 17, it's probably not going to lose to them. Baltimore late in the year, I think, is going to be really tough as well. So all in all, like this is a absolute gauntlet of 6 games. So what is I think the floor is 4-13 for them.
So that's what's unique to then coming back with our record predictions in our offseason recap. So floor was 4-13, and then the ceiling is 11-6. Your record prediction for them was 4-13, so you are expecting absolute worst case scenario for them. Mine was 9-8, a little bit more optimistic. I will say, and maybe I'm biased, I think it probably will be closer to me. Maybe not 9-8, but I'm thinking like 7-10, 8-9 is probably what I think this team's going to be at. Just because, especially too in this final 6-game stretch here, I know I immediately said 0-6. It is also extremely like they can pick off a couple of those games here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, it's the AFC North. It's wild. On paper, though, they are probably the worst roster amongst
it's not even close
teams. So, so that's where I think when looking at like maybe we could throw them a bone at 1-5, but I once again still probably not going to be picking those guys. So once again, to your point earlier too about like how much depth the AFC has, though, the Steelers are probably still on the back end of those playoff fringe teams, but still ceiling is 11-6, 9-8 is a very big possibility. It got them into the playoffs last year, fairly 9-8 or 10-7. I'm pretty sure it was 9-8.
Yeah,
and I don't see why we should expect anything different.
So my biggest thing is I think you look at their team last year. So 25th ranked offense and 21st ranked defense based off of total yards gained and total yards allowed. Like that's not a playoff team. And I think that you look at some of their moves. I know they got better in the offensive line, and I will give them that. They got 3 offensive linemen in the draft. But this wide receiver room, you lost Deontay Johnson. You tried to replace him with Roman Wilson. Like, I don't know. And then I feel like Kenny Pickett to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in this stage of their career is a lateral move. Like, I don't want to say it best because I think those guys' ceiling is definitely higher than Kenny Pickett's, but those guys have not played good football at all.
Well, Wilson's already descending down from his ceiling. Like so.
Oh yeah.
Well, I will say this: if Russell Wilson is what he was in Denver last year, which was, I think, 200 yards a game, I think he had 8 picks to like 22 touchdowns.
I thought he threw like 28 with like 8 picks.
Something like that. So that's even better.
Yeah.
But so even if it's what I said, I think the Steelers fans would take that because the way the Steelers win those football games, like win football games, that's the old school nasty. We're going to grind this out, and that's what like Mike Tomlin knows how to win those games. Like he sets up the game plan, for the games to be like that. He doesn't want to go into a shootout. Team's not built for a shootout. And so if Russell Wilson could come in and just be the game manager, no, he's not going to be like the guy from the Seahawks that won on the Super Bowl in that fun stretch about 10 years ago. So if he can come in and average 200 yards a game and just take care of the football, it's already going to be a massive improvement compared to Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. Well, but so then on top of those changes, you have Arthur Smith now calling the plays. And I know Mike Tomlin will probably be fairly heavily involved in the situational plays and things like that. But I'm not buying into this offense until it proves me wrong, like wholeheartedly. And I just don't see all the pieces adding up here. It reminds me of New England in 2022 when they went 9-8, but they really shouldn't have gone 9-8. They got lucky in a few games here or there. They had some big plays when they shouldn't have. They got a lucky turnover here or there, and they got a lot of sacks. That was like the only thing that New England did well in 2022. Whereas you look at this, like the Steelers team, really the only thing they've done well is they were 11th in sacks last year with 47. And that was with TJ Watt getting injured multiple times. So that to me, I think is the key. They're going to be in a lot of close games. I just don't know. I think you look at Indy, Las Vegas, even the Jets, Cincinnati, all those teams are just more talented on paper. So
yeah. No, I agree with you. Just more talent on paper, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively, this is where I think they can hang in games. So it's going to be interesting to watch here for the Steelers. Once again, it's Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. Can he do it again? That's what's going to be interesting about it.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think the Pittsburgh Steelers floor and ceiling will be in 2024. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.